My experience working with you today was that I was holding you in my arms as a newborn, and I was holding you in my arms as someone who was dying simultaneously. I was also holding you in my arms as someone who was struggling to move through and have a life. I could feel each of you entering into the containment of your body. I could feel the struggle. I could feel the emerging narrative of your life and how you were building a persona, a personality, a story, a narrative of your being that was causing you enormous amounts of grief. Some of it was self-manufactured, some of it was reaction to the randomness of the manifested universe that you live in. The part of me that was holding you, comforting you, loving you, rubbing your belly, stroking the top of your head, resting my hand on your shoulder, whispering in your ear, trying to touch the part of you that would keep you from crying and struggling. That part of me is the me that I have come to know over the course of many, many years of meditating, of sitting still, of going deeper and deeper and deeper into my own nature and discovering this incredible mothering, fathering, loving, embracing self, and knowing how to bring it into the manifested world as a way of helping you through your day and through your life. But the real secret, of course, not so much a secret to those of you who have been doing this practice or who have been sitting still at all during their lives, is that it's not about me comforting you. The part that I have discovered within myself that loves and nurtures and cares, that is compassionate and of service, is the exact same being or self that's within you. It's no different. I have not discovered myself, I have discovered ourself. I've discovered the self, who we are. We walk around so persuaded by our struggle and our containment and our story that we don't know what to do. We look for others to do what our parents did when we were little, which is to hold us and comfort us. But when you're 20 years old, that's hard to find. You may find a significant other who's willing on occasion to do it, but of course they want you to do it for them too. And so there's a mutuality of caring and respect that starts to form in adulthood. That's quite beautiful. And then usually one of those caring partners will leave you before you do, or you'll leave them, but somebody will depart, and you'll be back where you started. This little infant-like being pretending in every possible way to be grown up, to know something, to have achieved adulthood, to have figured it out, and knowing deeper and deeper inside every day that you don't have a clue. That the personality, ego-minded, story-driven being that you have created is a fiction. It's just a fiction. And you have bought into it 100%. And its whole purpose, ultimately, is to get you through the roughshod nature of manifested life with the understanding that it was going to crash on the shore at the end. That it is only going to carry you for a certain amount of time. And when you start to identify with the containment, with the outer force, with the surround, with the personality, you walk around in a state of profound insecurity, stressed, unhappy, grieving, depressed. That's for those of you who think about it. Those of you who don't think about it just keep managing to get through every day. But at some point, there is this existential realization that this is temporal. It doesn't last forever. And the fiction that we give ourselves is that it has a happily ever after finality, or that it has some kind of frame around it that contains it and gives it meaning and purpose and value that somehow or another make it worth doing. But once you begin to dissolve the frame of the story, the beginning, middle, end story, once you begin to let that go, once you begin to delve into the incredible insecurity that comes out of letting that go, the only real positivity that comes from dissolving you is the discovery of what lies beneath that story. Who is it that's telling the story? Who is it that shows up every day? Who are you? Who are you? And if you really begin this search for that answer, if you begin the search, which is not a mental search, although some people think it is, it's not a search that begins through psychiatric exploration, although it can help. It really is learning to sit still, to find that quietude, to find that place that isn't involved in your story, and just sit down in it and watch what happens. And my experience of it is that its initial moment of making itself aware is that it takes you in. It comforts you. It makes you feel welcome. The hint most of us get of this feeling, those of you who sleep well, is falling asleep. The falling asleep moment is that whatever it is, the head hitting the pillow and going, oh yeah, letting go of you, letting go of the day, letting go of the drama, letting go of the ambition, letting go of all the crap that fills your life, and finding that inward simplicity that is ultimately you. But imagine going to sleep awake. Imagine falling inward into that oblivion and finding it to be clear-headed, wise, open, available, beautiful, resonant, and you. It's you. It's not some other. It's not something waiting to take you in. It's something that is always there enveloping you from the inside out and even from the outside in. There is no way to understand this. You can say, oh, I get what he's saying. Oh yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, I like that story. I like that idea that there's some comforting force not only within you, but something that is you. It's a great idea. But until you actually step through that door, until you actually know that, until you begin the process, the journey, the path to yourself, this is just a story. One of the things that happens along that journey is that the story falls away. Piece by piece by piece by piece, the stuff of you falls away. I describe this fairly frequently about what happens when you're 5 years old and you're no longer able to be 2 years old. My granddaughter, she doesn't really suck her thumb, but when she was young, she had these patterns that were of a 2-year-old, and now she's 6 years old and she can't do them anymore. They don't work. We're like that our whole life. Stuff that worked for us when we were 20 doesn't work when you're 40. Stuff that worked for you when you were 40 and 50, trust me, doesn't work for you when you're 70. And I haven't gotten to 80, 90, and I don't know if I will, but I will tell you what I observe is all of that stuff that created you, that defined you, that made you who you were, starts to fall away, and it's a weird feeling. It's very weird. You cannot rely on the story, the adventure, the purpose of your life. Once you've accomplished what you set out to accomplish, assuming you did do that, and then it's like resting on laurels. It's like, well, you're a has-been. You're a what was. You're not a what is. That stuff falls away. And if you didn't get what you wanted, then you're living in this life of what I didn't get, and you're holding on to this identity of a not getting, which is awful, and it's not true. All of the story elements that you are identifying with will start to erode, and they erode in ways that feels like, I would guess, Alzheimer's. Like all of this old stuff that mattered doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter anymore. You identified your life, you built your life around what? Something, and then it doesn't matter. Selling insurance, being a teacher, being an artist, being a screenwriter. It's past tense. It's past tense, and it falls away. You can look back at it, you can remember it, you can have that kind of a relationship from it as it's receding away, but mostly you are not that. What are you? Who are you? You're the thing that was always there. You're the thing that went on the ride. You're the thing that found itself contained in this physical body. You are this helpless little baby who was held in somebody's arms, hopefully, and loved, hopefully, and then emerged into a world which is kind of terrifying. I was with my grandson the other day, and I was talking about what's going to happen when he gets a little older and he starts to grow up, and he stopped me dead in my tracks, and he started sobbing, just sobbing. And he said, I don't want to get older. I don't want to be anything else. I want to be me. And he was sobbing, 3 years old. And it breaking my heart, because I have a vague feeling that I did the same thing to my mother at one point. And we are thrust into this, whatever this is. And when you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever, you're going to have a very strong, concrete sense of what this is. But when you start to get into your 70s and 80s and 90s, and the what isness of that starts to evaporate, you're going to be looking at it more of a like, what was that? What was that? And it's starting to fall away. Everything's falling away. You just watch it go. And you start to feel bereft or grieving, a kind of large envelope of grieving as a person. And even if you've had this deep inner awakening, what you realize is that that awakening involves infinite grief and infinite embrace, infinite arrival, so that it is endlessly new, endlessly old, happening and already finished, And all of these paradoxical realities are starting to be there simultaneously. And you start to become that thing which always was there, is a being without a narrative, a being free-floating that has basically no understanding of anything. Arriving at no understanding of not knowing can only happen in any fundamentally valuable way when you believe you knew. Letting go of what you knew is liberating. Not always comfortable, but liberating. Letting go of everything you were, letting go of everything that surrounds you that you use to define you, just simply waking up in the morning and being is an extraordinary state. You can't get there so easily when you're in your middle life. You can. I mean, I told you this, I meditated every day of my life. And I would wake up in the morning and sit and be before I began to do. And I would allow that being to permeate the day. That being and that discovery of that being in the midst of doing allowed me at this age in retirement and finding a new world around me altogether to find that I had the muscle of being. The muscle of being is stronger than and more valuable than the muscle of doing. The muscle of doing is fine, except that they're going to take away all of your powers of doing. But they cannot take away the power of being. There is no they to do it. You are being itself. You are the essence of being. You are this infinite, helpless, tiny, unknowing creature that will grow into a story of knowing and being, and then end up on a deathbed, if you're lucky, lying there going, what was that? Being held, if you're lucky, by outside forces, and then the story that we tell ourselves, and may well be true, that we will then be re-enveloped by the love that has always been there. Not so much outside comfort, but an inner comfort. That essence of what being is. The only way to know what I'm talking about is not to hear it from me. The only way to have a clue to what I'm expressing is to live your life. The only way to live your life is consciously. The unconscious life is a real mess. It's a story upon stories upon stories with all of the drama and suffering that that entails, and then arriving at the end and going, what the fuck, basically. And that isn't the best way. That isn't the best way. You want to arrive at the end and go, or even better, thank you. Thank you. And there's no reason you can't do that. But it's only in your hands. It's nobody else's hands. Nobody can do it for you. I can sit here and talk forever and feel like I have. But you guys are the ones who have to take the message and live this journey. You have to take that infant and take that old dying creature that you will become and love it. You have to embrace it in the middle, which is not some abstract place. It's right now. You have to embrace the self now. How do you embrace yourself now? Well, you have to sit still. You have to find that there's no outer story person who can embrace it, because that person is in transition all the time. But there is this deep, stable, constant reality that already is there, that does embrace you. It takes you and comforts you and says, it's okay. It's okay. You are that being. You are that being. You are that being more than you are the story, narratively driven, crazy, loving, mixed up, nervous, doubting, stressed human being. That's a passing thing. It's passing. The being through which it is passing is not passing at all. It just is. The great teachers of ancient times tell us that that persistent being is infinite and eternal. That may be the one last piece of storytelling. Because who knows? If it is, and if it's not, I'll tell you this. If it's not infinite and eternal, and this is all there is, and it comes to an end, you will be no more. So have a good ride. Make the best of it. Enjoy it. Have fun. Do good things. If it goes on, how does it go on? This is where images of heaven and hell come in. You know, when you have karmic retribution. If it goes on, the first thing will be, depending upon who you are and what life you had, like, oh my God, I'm still here. And then your mind will go into what I call Sunday school mode, because you're not prepared for still being here after you die. What does it mean I'm still here? And you'll start to think of all of the old adages of heaven and hell and purgatory and all that stuff, and probably begin to create that if it doesn't create itself. And you're going to have this journey into the nothingness that you could have discovered while you were alive but didn't, because they have to take you apart and reduce you back into the being, the pure being that you are. So you have to then let go of everything in your life that you're still holding on to. Better, let go now. Let this stuff go now. Free yourself. Find that space now, let it go, and let yourself be in that exquisite place of being, period. That's the whole value of yoga, to yoke onto the unending, infinite nature of being. So, I don't really want to make this a sales piece, you know. All I'm trying to tell you is you have choices, you have options. Your story can be a conscious story, an unconscious story. It can be a drama of great horror. It can be a drama of exquisite awareness. It can be truly poetic. It can be really high-level fiction, or it can be melodrama. You have all these choices of what your life can be, and in a way, you, in your reaction to the day-to-day reality, to the randomness of existence, you are weaving that tale. Some of you are better storytellers than others. One way or another, that story has to go. If you are caught up in a beautiful story, it's going to go. If you're caught up in the worst melodrama imaginable, it's also going to go. The reality is, underneath this, there is a little baby, there is an old person dying, and there is this support system of being that you are either connected to or not connected to. And the thing that brought you to this class, that brings you to hearing these words, the thing that tells you there's something to be done, all it is telling you is sit still. Find this thing, this comfort, this embrace, this wisdom of being, and let it dissolve your story and release you from all of the stuff that's going to be released anyway, but in enough time for you to sit back and stare at the wonder of existence. Just a choice. You do not have to do it. You do not have to do it. But I will caution you, look at the people around you who are not doing it, and then decide whether you want to do it or not. It is an option. It is a difference. You can have a different kind of life. You can end your life in joy, in gratitude and beauty, or in misery and suffering and hating everything. You weave the tale. Nobody else weaves it. You know, they throw shit at you, you turn it into... I literally walk down the street, you know, and I take pictures of bird shit on the sidewalk. They're the most beautiful images you've ever seen. You know, if I tell people what it is, they get upset. But the starry, the starry quality of it on a black background is cosmic. It's really beautiful. How you relate to the stuff that's thrown at you in life is everything. Frame it in one way and it's beautiful and artful. Frame it in another way and it's like disgusting and you don't want to go near it. Your life. It's your life. And I really hope this message gets through, and I hope you understand what I'm talking about, and I hope you do it. I mean, I've said this, you know, for hundreds and hundreds of weeks on end, the same basic message, but it has to take hold. I can't make it hold. All I can do is I can take you in my arms spiritually, if you will, and comfort you and love you and be there for the end of you and tell you I love you and it's okay and it's all right. That's all I can do. That's all any great, or even less than great teacher can do. You know, that's it. So, you know, I'm very grateful to have held you in my arms today. You were all, each one of you, exquisitely moving. The little squirmy baby, the old person lying there going, you know, you were all totally beautiful. So thank you for showing up. Any questions today?
More of a comment. My experience in class today was constantly disappearing. But you couldn't really disappear because there'd be this reappearing in some form, and when I'd reappear as this form, it took a lot of energy to continue every millisecond to identify with this reformation, and I realized that that's what we do. In order to keep this identity on a millisecond basis, there's this constant energy it takes to reappear as who we think we are, which is formed by our social mores. And
You're absolutely right. I mean, if people understood, we exist and cease to exist every millisecond. We bring ourselves back and we fall apart. And we are constantly doing that. It's almost like breathing, but it's faster than breathing. We are reassembling and disappearing. We are creating, manifesting ourselves instant by instant by instant. And we think we will die if we don't, when we will, probably, on some ultimate level. But in the spiritual version of it, letting go of that makes this process much more malleable. It's freer, and you just go, okay. You start to trust not having to cohere. You trust the chaos. You trust the unstructured. And you watch what it feels like, and it's remarkable. And what I love about it is it's so much more intelligent than the cognitive, materialized, physicalized being that appears in front of us. The wisdom that comes through us is much greater than the wisdom we have. Because the wisdom we have is momentary, and it's just part of this flux of creation and destruction. But the wisdom that permeates us is infinite. It's forever. It's just there. It speaks to us. It guides us, if we listen. But if we are only listening to the structured noise that's constantly reinforcing who we are, and it's really interesting, because if you ever watch your mind, it's telling you the same story over and over and over and over and over and over. It's reinforcing and reinforcing and reinforcing, and ultimately, it is so boring. You know, you're not that story. You're just not that story.
it seems like the part that keeps refiguring in its configuration is partly its own ego identity, but a big part is for the people that identify you as that, and not like for your parents or your close friends to not be like, what the hell happened to blankety blank? They seem to have lost their...
Well, we're reinforced by internal and external forces all the time. We are rebuilt continually. If you ever go to a cocktail party and each person there is a new version of you, you have to give them one story as opposed to another story. Some stories you don't want to give again, some stories you can't wait to tell. But you know, everybody is forming you, and you are responding to that formation and becoming this different person over and over and over. But ultimately, it's all a fiction. It's just a fiction. Give it up. Just be what appears. Watch what happens if you do that. It's really interesting. You know, if you become a deeply, compassionately honest human being, boy, oh boy, it's a relief. It gets rid of the need to support this thing forever. It's just tiresome. Let it go. It's going to get taken away. So just participate in its evaporation. Anybody else?
Rather than disappearing, I had the experience of melting. Just everything melting away. But I couldn't function in the world on a daily basis.
Nor are you expected to. No, the melting process is an indicator of a deeper, truer nature. But we don't have the choice as materialized beings of melting during the day. We have to function in solid physical form. But we can be really quiet and still inside and watch that form working rather than thinking we're working it and it's us. It will be so brilliant, so smart, so effective. It will do what it has to do. And when it's not that, you will be forgiving of it. You know, you and I are both experiencing this, our memories going, our minds going, all of these things happening. And it really is a strange experience. Not to be able to rely on what was known, what somebody said yesterday, what I was supposed to do today. I completely forgot to take my printer to get repaired yesterday. I completely forgot. I never do that. But that's who I'm becoming, someone who forgets. And it's okay, I'll take it on Monday or Wednesday or some other day. You know, you learn to function as a different kind of being based on what's happening, but the important stuff will take place. And when it doesn't, then you're at the beginning of the slide into the end zone, you know, that's it. But for as long as you can, we function well. But the amazing thing is to watch us dysfunction and to see that melting process as not a bad thing. It's not in and of itself bad. It just is. And it will occur for everybody. You and I are a little ahead of the loop here, you know, in our age, but it's very instructive to watch what getting old is. It's going to do everything we're talking about. This just helps make it something that is worth the ride. Okay. Oh,
When I came in, I wanted to pull an angel card, and the first one I pulled up was blank, and then I laughed at that. I get nothing. I had to do another one, and it was humor. And it just, all of this has been in my mind so much lately that I would rather just be the wind or a cloud or something. In the world, that doesn't work in the world. And I think just the approach of having fun with it, knowing you have to sort of fall in line with somewhat what the world wants of you, be something. But I really like what you said about letting it do it for you, as opposed to you manhandling it.
we don't realize that it's doing it. We think we have a full responsibility. We do have some responsibility to show up and be reactive to what life is, and at some point to generate. We are generators as well as receivers. So you have to know what to do at what point, but what's so brilliant is that this inner being tells you, generate. Nothing's going on, make something happen. Or sit back and be nothing. But it's so wise and so simple and so in your face, if you let it be, that it will guide your life and you don't have to really be responsible. I mean, that's not exactly right, but what I'm saying is the responsibility is not owned by you. If you're responsive to what the universe is saying, you will have a karma-free existence. You will go out and create and be and love and experience life in an extraordinary way, as opposed to someone who thinks they have to do it on their own, in which case you are left unsupported and feeling unsupported and ultimately betrayed. And you don't want that. And you're not really betrayed, but then by the time you discover who you really were and what was there, you'll go, well, where were you the whole time? And it will say, I was always there. You never paid attention for 1 second. You were always thinking it was you and everybody else. No, it's not. It never was. And then you feel stupid. But you're not stupid. You're hearing the teaching now. Take it. You know, those angel cards are wonderful. The blank angel card is one of the greatest, you know? And the humor one, I mean, they're all great. They're all great, and they all speak to the human experience. We all need to find how do we get through the next day or this moment or this second. What do? Half the time you don't have to do anything. It happens. It's already laid out. And when you do have to figure it out, well, go to the deepest place and say, how can I best make this real? It will tell you. It may say, sit back and watch TV for an hour. That's fine. It may tell you, go out and mow the lawn. But it will tell you. It will give you a list of things possibly. Pick one. And then you'll feel good. You'll feel better because you're listening to yourself.
I just want to get back. Sorry, what's your name?
Bridge.
Right, Bridge MD.
Sorry.
I just want to get back to something you said, which is what they want you to be, which everyone struggles with, is what identity do I need to be in order to fit in, to provide what this person needs, and be their version of what they want you to be, and to hold yourself. That's always been the challenge. How do I hold my own self within getting what needs to be done, because we don't have our own planet, we do have to interact with other people. So I think we need to put more effort into being ourselves that we do, like at the end of the day, have a detox period where we go, all right, now I come back to myself, or even during the day, taking breaks. You know, when you get up from your desk or whatever, just going, okay, let's get back to me and have something that you can hold that ground yourself. That to me is when we've talked about that, has been a real, for us, kind of a breakthrough of going, all right, I don't need to be that 24/7. I'm not expected to be that, and that's not better than who I am either. So just being able to say, here I am, here I am, here I am. And just,
Rudy would just say, take a breath. Take a breath, come back to yourself. When you get lost, take a breath. Sometimes getting lost is fine, but if you find yourself lost and don't know what to do, take a breath is good. The tension of the ego mind trying to be spiritual, trying to be this, whatever it is crazy. You can't do it. You will make yourself insane. You know, why should any ego-minded entity try to make himself pure? The ego mind will never be pure. It is a functionary of something else. Let it go. Trust that it will be supported by something greater, and that greater thing is never not there. And if you take a breath and go, I am, or find your way back to that place on a daily basis, on a minute-to-minute basis, it frees you. All you have to do is take a breath. That's the simple version. Be still and know that I am. That's, my piano downstairs, there's a little medallion that says, be still and know that I am.
what chord is that in?
Pardon?
What chord is that in?
I'm telling you, it's the most important idea. It comes basically from the Bible, and it's be still and know that I am God. But be still and know that I am is also very powerful. Okay. I'm going to be here next week also, so you guys are welcome back. And I love you all, and I'm very grateful that you show up. So thank you.